get into the video. Okay, it's
Yeah.
what.
I just want to say that to me that I was very, perfectionist and anxious and all that about my game. I really cared about what other people thought about me. Exposing myself in a video like this where, more people are going to watch it, and especially you, Philip, that you're obviously going to see all the little mistakes that I make, and the big ones, of course, too. It's actually, nerve inducing, or it would have been, but now I feel, much more comfortable about it. I
Yeah.
think it's only for the best. And yeah, I think this live play is actually from earlier 20s. I tried to play my game, of course, but also make it simple to where people watching understand that you don't have to do a lot of like fancy stuff to, beat the game, basically. So I think I didn't really do anything like super crazy, which is usually how I play anyway. But I mean, you'll see. I think I made like one crazy call and that's it. I think
Okay.
it's a decent live play.
Do you know any of these guys? Can you tell us who's a reg, who's not a reg?
Yeah, I will tell you my color scheme. So orange is random reg that I don't know anything about, and I don't know any of these people. The only reason why I have colors in them is because whenever I see someone that's like multi-tabling already in this lobby, it's 99% reg, just because there's so much traffic that finding someone in two tables is impossible. A fish, impossible. So this
Okay.
humiliator guy is probably playing like 12 tables or something to have him in two tables.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see. And your usual stake is like 50s, 100s. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last stake that I played was I was playing 100s before I had this disease and all that. But the stake that I've played the most in my life has been 50s. Yeah, in
Okay.
this lobby.
Okay. I see. Okay. So the orange color is a reg you don't know. The green color or the other
Green
colors?
color is fish,
Uh huh.
and then you might see blue, which like light blue, which is aggressive,
Uh huh.
and pink, which is like neat. That's it.
Okay. 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 Limpin versus fish. Chicken back 8-3. That's 5-4. Yeah, I mean, you could call, yeah, it's fine. You could call, you could fold against the no name. I don't think it matters too much. And usually you do play with HUD, yeah? Or you play without HUD?
Can you repeat it? Sorry.
Usually you play with HUD or you play without HUD?
Usually I play with hat, but because I'm playing a stake where I have no info.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, of course, with five hands from a fish, you can make decisions, but because I was playing only four tables and I can pay a lot of attention to what they're doing, I already have an idea of whether they are aggressive or not.
Okay,
Just seeing
okay.
what they're doing.
Okay, calling the flop. 6-2s. Okay. Isolating. Making a big
Yeah, I
isolate.
think
Yeah?
maybe I'm behind in the stream. I'm not sure because I'm talking with you on Discord, but I think the stream has a little delay.
Okay,
So
maybe
when I'm
like 5
when you're
seconds.
talking and what I'm saying,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a little bit weird.
Okay. Because I think I made 0 delay, but who knows. Okay, so this is
Yeah.
our first decision point, basically, with 5-4, bottom to pair. So the fish made a small isolate, then he blocked, then he checked back. So we have a decision between check raising and probing, and if we're going to probe, what sizing. So GTO would probably like usually GTO would check it because it's like bottom to pair, but I mean versus fish it doesn't matter how GTO plays. Basically, the question is how many hands would call me which would not bet themselves. That's the question. Because like it doesn't matter that he's gonna call you here with jacks or like pocket queens, because if you check he's gonna bet them regardless, so you're not missing any value. I don't think he has many 5s and 4s, and I think it's unlikely getting called here by king high. So I think I would always check, because fish could value bet in position extremely thin, and when they bet in position, they do not fold against the raise very often. So I think he could go for thin value with 10s, 9s, and 8x, and I don't think I'm getting called here with king high that often. And also, like if I just bet like here pot, Like again, the idea of checking and getting value from tens, and once in a blue moon you could get him to call you, or like from Jack X, is just too much. So I would probably always go here for a check raise. Let's see what you do.
I don't remember what I did, but I remember that I realized too late in the hand that this is probably a reg that thinks that I'm a fish.
Oh,
So he played a weird line. So I was not sure what to think of it.
okay.
Like, because the range of the reg here is very different. And
Yes.
I didn't know what to do. I think I went for value because if he thinks that I'm a fish,
Okay.
especially in this lobby, I don't think he's going to try to make me fold after bet check. You know?
Yeah, but if he's not trying to make you fold, still, the question is, what hands do you think he's calling your pot bet, which he's not betting himself?
No hands, probably. I was very confused this hand.
Yeah.
Very confused. I didn't know how to extract value from it.
So, like, even if he's bluffing here like 0%, it's still like pot betting is probably the worst line you could choose. Yeah, because like, if you make a smaller bet, at least you're getting value from some king highs, from some weak pairs, pocket pairs, and maybe once in a blue moon you get raised. Maybe he has like kings, queens, and against the block bet he goes for a value like king jack, or maybe, you know, some like it's feasible that he could at least raise you. But if you're going for a pot bet, of course, if he has a jack, he's gonna call you, or if he has like pocket queens, he's gonna call you, or maybe even not, but probably calls you. But again, if you check, you get the same result, but you could also, you know, get even more. But okay, 5-2s, mostly calling, sometimes raising, but let's not get into that. King two suited calling in position. 5-2s probably a fold here. We have the worst hand, making a big raise with sevens. You go for 3 big blinds. Not sure, like, why wouldn't you go for big ISO with pocket sevens with dip? Like, what's the idea of isolating with only 3 big blinds? For only 3 big blinds?
I'm not sure, because I actually read Danny comment about this earlier today, and I was conditioned. I actually thought about doing bigger or smaller, and he said he doesn't like doing like very big low SPR with this kind of hands against fish, because the hands that they overcall, that they like call, that are a mistake, actually have a lot of equity against sevens, like a Jack 9 or Jack 8 or something like that. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to him. But I didn't know if the answer is to make smaller or even jamming. I wasn't sure what to do.
Okay.
So I opted for, you know, in value.
That is true that the hands which were mostly overcall are actually gonna have pretty decent equity against your hand, which is true. But it's gonna be like he doesn't take into account post-flop realization, because it's gonna be he's gonna play post-flop much worse than you, basically. So he's gonna make a ton of mistakes post-flop, and sometimes he also makes limp raises, which are very bad against your hand, with like some weak offsuit ace or something like this. So I would always ISO 7 big blinds. Like, the idea of isolating 3 big blinds is to induce a limp raise from him as a bluff. So you ISO 3 big blinds and he limp jams like ace 5 or king 6 or, you know, pocket pairs. But fish very rarely limp raise. In fact, he could easily limp call here pocket 9s or like ace jack. So I would always go for big ISO, and sure, he would call me with overcuts, but I would have a massive edge post flop. Like, it's not like we have 50-50, but I would play my hand a lot better than him. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
So 5-2s is a fold. We have the bottom of our range. King 2s, we float in position against 1 big blind. So could you remind me what is red again? Like, what is this color?
The orange is reg, then green is fish, and then if there is some red guy, it's like calling maniac usually. So it's like someone that does not fold.
Okay, so Terminator is a maniac? Like, he has this...
No, I think...
Terminator 91.
I don't know why he has that color, because I don't think that's an iPoker color. I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's not the average red, right?
Okay.
I think that's something weird.
Okay. So here I would always raise with king 2s, and I would... this is actually... I was playing a lot, like for a while, when I usually finish my bonuses on Winamax, whereas like sometimes I have a lot of free time, and because I finished my bonuses and I cannot play. I mean, I could obviously play GG, but sometimes I make these marathon sessions versus GTO Wizard, where I would play versus him, like, you know, for tables and like just see it, like, and just practice the spot, which I'm not sure about. And GTO Wizard, like in this short SPR, taught me how to play the spots. Like basically with King 2s, you want to raise, and you want to raise something like 3.5, something like this. Because if you just, like, he clearly tries to either pot control or to buy a cheap card with like a 7x or 8x, 3x, you know, something like this. If he has a better hands than you, then you're fucked anyway. But a lot of the hands which he's gonna bluff you on the river, he's gonna call against a small raise, because it's probably like an open ender or a hand with decent equity. And you don't want to jam, because I don't think you want to be raise all in here. There are not that many hands which want to raise all in here as a bluff. Like raising none all in allows you to have some bluffs with a hand like 10-3, for example, or with a hand like Jack-8, or maybe turning like 10-4 into a bluff, something like this. But you definitely want to make the pot bigger. And on this draw heavy board, but you don't want to jam because you don't have any natural jams. And so I would make it something like 3.5 here, 3.5 for big blinds. Calling, I think, is a mistake. Like your hand is really vulnerable. Like calling would make sense if you have a straight already, or if you had like a set, or like 6-5, something like this, something which blocks a lot of his thin value. But here, again, if he has like aces or a set, you're not going anyway. But from a lot of the bluffs, he's probably not bluffing here 10-9. So if he's bluffing 10-3 or 10-7, if he folds against a small raise, it's good for you, because like you knocked out like 20% equity for almost nothing. And if he calls, it's good for you. So like, and sometimes he like 3-bet jams or something like this. Okay, let's see. Raising. Okay. Oh, that's the... Okay, perfect. Yes. Perfect. Nice. I'm impressed. There's a lot of people would either jam or, you know, just call, but finding the small raise. And first you made a raise like 5 big blinds, which is way too big, because I don't think you would ever raise 5 big blinds with a bluff. You know, like you're kind of put committing yourself. You want to raise the sizing, which you could do with a bluff. Would you raise here pocket 5s too? No, I think pocket 5s you get to slow play, because I think pocket 5s don't need as much protection as King X needs. And it blocks some of the value. So yeah, I usually like really nice hands. I would slow play like straights, it's sense, but I would raise the vulnerable ones. Okay, I'll isolate queens. Folding 10-2s, block betting queens. King 6, you're betting 100% of your range. Okay, what do we do with queens? It feels like... So, in this situation, you're gonna do a lot of block betting, like, because after he called your isolate 3 big blinds, he's not gonna have a 6, usually, because his offsuit 6x, like Jack 6, 10 6, 9 6, 8 6, he's gonna be folding against isolate 3 big blinds. So he's not gonna have a lot of 6x, and well, he's not gonna have a lot of King X, because it's just very hard to flop trips. So like this is a very dry board. On the turn, if you have ace high, you could continue value betting. Like if you have any pair, you could continue value betting. If you have ace high, you could continue value betting. So I would probably continue block betting. I would continue block betting here with almost my entire range. I think if we put up GTO here, we would barrel here like 70%, 75, something like this. So slow playing sometimes is fine, but I think like you have one of the prettiest hand to slow play, because you kind of block his showdown value to queens. But I think this is the spot where you should mostly bet, because once if you check and like he just has a lot of weak floats. So I understand, like exploitatively, maybe like versus fish, I would always check here on the turn, because he's gonna have a lot of floats. If he has a 6, he would raise it very often, and he would overplay his floats a lot. But I think versus Rex, usually in these spots, it's very unlikely for you to induce two big bets. Like Rex, if he has a float, he would either bet small and then give up, or he would check back the turn and then bet small on the river, something like this. So I think check-in is not as effective because check-in is good if you're expecting him to run an expensive bluff, basically. But I don't think he would run an expensive bluff because he understands that he can represent very few hands here, and you have a lot of good hands here. You have all the pocket pairs, you have king X, you have sixes, you have fours, you have like aces high, you have queen highs, and you're not fold any of that. And if you have a bluff, you're very likely to continue. So I think it's just, I don't know, like this is obviously 20, so if he's super aggressive, check-in is fine. But this is a spot where I would mostly continue betting because it's unlikely to get.
I don't know him.
Yeah.
He's a reg, and I don't know him, but I think he was very aggressive, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
I think you will see now.
But do you agree with my logic? Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I don't think I would have checked against the fish. I think I would have done very small again, like 1.5 or something.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, probably checking is a better idea.
Okay. Okay, checking king is fine. I think for 5 is a bit too big with your hand. I would go a little bit smaller, like a third pot, but it's fine. I think
that's too big.
Yeah. I think so too. I mean, in this spot, I would only be using a small sizing because, like I wanna be betting the sizing, which I would be betting here with my aces high. Basically, that's the idea. But and with my 4x. So I think half pot is too big. I think it's like around third pot. His jam, I don't think it's very good. I don't see the point of it, honestly, because
maybe because he thinks like you, he thought that it made no sense to make so big, and that's why he's like leveled. I don't know.
Yeah. But even though, like, why don't you call and then you call the river? What's the point of jamming? Because if you have a hand like 10-3, you have like 6 outs, right? Versus him, so it's like 12%, and jamming to protect your 12%. I mean, I would not be surprised if Solver does something like this sometimes, but I think there have to be more draws because Solver usually does shit like this if sometimes he gets called by a worse hand, like by if you bet call 7-5, 5-3 here often enough. But yeah, I think you played well. The only reason if you have queens, because you're blocking his calling range so much, I would go smaller. I would go like 2 big blinds or 3 big blinds, something like this. And you have a lot of fin value which want to bet smaller, so protecting is good. Okay. Okay, so with Queen Jack is an interesting spot, yeah, because there's like I honestly have no idea how to play the spot because there is like ante involved. My feeling, like, and there's like I think a folding is fine. Like these spots are very, very confusing because there's actually less money in the pot than it appears because you have to contend with a third player who's never folding, right? So I think folding here is good. Like with asymmetric stacks, I try to study them, man, but there's just so many different situations. But it feels like you should call here tight because when there's like extra money in the pot, yeah, you should call here tighter than usual. Okay, isolating 3, that's fine. Mixing between 1.5, like on this board, A7-2s is the board where you wanna be using a lot of big sizes as well. Like it's not like block bet only because like first of all, you don't have here a lot of aces because most of your offset aces you either ISO jam or ISO third. So when you're isolating 3 big blinds, you're kind of representing a suited ace, right? And there, because you're not going to isolate 3 big blind with ace-9 offset or like ace-10 offset, ace-jack offset. Maybe sometimes ace-king offset, but more often than not. So like here, and here you have a lot of like deuces, sevens, pocket pairs, 9s, 8s, 10s, king-queen, by the way. which would like to bet bigger because he doesn't have a lot of aces either. He doesn't have a lot of pocket pairs because he's gonna min raise them pre-flop 20 big blinds. He's not gonna limp them as often. With pocket pairs, he limp jams. So this is the spot where actually it doesn't seem like this, but this board is not as dry as you might think because there are a lot of draws, but there are draws in foremost to overcuts to a 7 with a backdoor flash draw, right? And you have a lot of hands which would like to protect against that. You have strong king highs, you have deuces, you have sevens which would like to bet bigger. Block betting is fine, but it's just important to realize that here you actually would like to size up because you don't have, it's not like you have bluffs and ace X. Most of your range are actually going to be vulnerable hands, which would like to size up here, like starting from tens.
What about this hand specifically that you have like no backdoors or nothing?
Yeah, I think
one backdoor, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Like block betting is definitely fine. Like I think in this situation, I'm betting my entire range for half pot, almost like 80%. Okay. I think, but I there is very small difference here, so I don't think you're making any mistake or anything like that. Okay, I would definitely take a note of this. So Helium folded 4 big blinds, so he doesn't seem to be a wreck.
Yeah, it was confusing because he was multi-tabling, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure because I don't know if they think that I'm a wreck as well because it's my first time playing here. So.
Okay. Here, 9 of clubs seems nice. Like 9 of clubs here seems really nice because you block a lot of his backdoors, which he hits. So yeah, I would probably keep barreling here. You have to barrel some no equity hands, and like I would give up all the 9 threes here except 9-3 with a 9 of clubs because it's just too good of a blocker in my opinion. Okay, decided to check.
Let's see what I did. I'm not sure with these no equity hands. I always have like so many doubts on which ones to continue or give up. I know I sit out, I think, right?
Yes. I mean, it's not like insanely profitable bluff or anything. It's just like how I would think about the hand. Again, the poker is so difficult. Like I've been studying it like hardcore with Solver for the past, I don't know. Like I studied it really hard for 3 years. Like for 3 years, I would have like no private life, no anything. I would just go. But still, most spots you're guessing because it's so difficult. There's so many variables. There's so many different sizes. There's so many different exploits that it's just impossible to study. That's why it's important to understand what's the most that you cannot study by just trying to mimic what the solver shows you. You need to understand the basic GTO logic, and you need to build your own strategies, basically, like which you understand in your hand, your own plans, something like this. Okay, so.
Yeah. I get it. The problem with me usually is that I was too passive, and whenever I had doubts on what to do, I tend to just not go through the aggressive route, which is usually the most EV. Right?
Yeah.
So usually when I have doubts and I think EV is similar, then I opt for the passive line.
Okay.
That's how
yeah.
Which is wrong probably, but it's me.
Yeah. It's important to like A6 is indifferent. Like again, we need to see the heart to kind of get a better assessment. Whether you don't have to limp jam here, you could just limp call. Same with pocket deuces, pocket threes, you could just limp call. But yeah, limp jamming is fine.
He's called the humiliator, so
yeah,
I will give his nick credit.
That's true. Okay. Queen 3. Yeah, I think we could peel it off. It's a bit loose, but it's fine. Like you have a backdoor straighter as well. But it's close, but yeah, seems okay. Okay, so the question is, should we find the bluff here? I think we have to. Yeah, I think it's a bluff. It's a close one, but I lean towards a bluff because the king has paired, so like you have a lot of sevens, which could value bet. You don't have that many draws because which missed because 4-3 got there, 9-8 got there, so you have like 10-9, 10-8, 4-2s, 3-2s, and that's about it. Some of them you would check raise. So after that, you have like Jack 10, but no, it seems like I think you just have too much value here. because you could value bet 7 for a really large sizing, and you have a lot of kings. So you could value bet 7s, you have kings, and you check raise almost no 7s and no kings. So if I had to guess, I would say that queen 3 had to bluff. Like jack 10, queen 3 is really close, but given that most people are going to be overfolding against a probe, I think I would go here for a large sizing. If like something, I think here I would just go all in, honestly, because he, like I think if you go all in, like you have a nice blocking hand, like you block his hero calls because most of his hero calls are going to be queen 7, queen 6, like hands with a queen, which unblock a lot of your bluffs. So you're blocking his calling range and you unblock a lot of his faults. Like I think queen 3 is a perfect candidate to just jam here, and you have 3 straights and you have a king, and because you could jam, you have to bluff a lot. Can somebody pull up the solver? By the way, if I do, okay, I can probably quickly check. By the way, if I do, okay, I can probably quickly check. By the way, if I okay, I can probably quickly check. By the way, if I
Mm-hmm.
okay, I can probably okay. Can you hear me now? By the way.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Let me quickly check, because I opened up a Twitch and then I heard my own voice and it got weird. Okay, so king 6 7 6 5. Let's quickly check it. You have to trust me. Well, you cannot see my screen, yes? Oh, you can.
No,
No. Okay.
we can see just the video. Yeah.
Okay. So it's like 16 bigs. Okay. Limb check. King 7 6. 5 of diamonds. Now that I think about it, I think I have to bluff even more than queen 3. Oh, he actually folds queen 3 suited, but he calls queen 4 suited, so you were really close. It doesn't seem to be a mistake. Okay. And river king. Let's see. Yes, I was right. He's bluffing queen jack. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I knew queen 3. I knew queen 3 was too nitty. You see my problem. Like I studied this spot, and I felt like queen 3 is probably a jam, but I knew, like you probably solver would go in wider than this. So yeah, queen 4. You always use like pot bet or over bet. This is like one of the best hands to go big sizing. So okay. All right. So what did you do?
I don't even think I bluffed it. I'm not sure. Well, hopefully I bluffed it, but sometimes when I get to these spots, I think queen high is enough showdown because of the paired board and the queen and the king sorry not being there.
Yeah.
But it's probably a big mistake.
It's a big mistake to check here, especially given the population tendencies. It's even the bigger mistake because you have to think that, remember, you have to compare good option with your alternative options. So yeah, you have a lot of showdown value. This is true, but if you go all in, like what's calling you, or if you go like solver here doesn't go all in, he like overbets. But if you like pot bet, he needs to call you with a 5x. You understand? And he needs to call you with like ace high sometimes. He needs to call you like, for example, here against the pot bet. Yeah.
He's not going to do that.
Yeah.
Even with a 7, he's going to call the all in.
It's gonna be very difficult only calling an overbet. So like he's gonna have massive overfold. And most people in this spot, because they see you have a lot of value. So basically when you don't have a lot of value, which could go for big sizing, you have to give up even some pure no equity bluffs. But if you have a lot of, like, what's important for you, whether you have enough value in your range, because if you have a lot of really good hands which want to bet big, you turn a lot of weak showdown value into a bluff as well. But at the same time, if you have if you even have a lot of misdraws, but you don't have hands which wanna overbet, which wanna bet huge, then you have to just give up. For example, button versus big blind. If you check call the flop and the river is an ace, right, which hits which hits button a lot, you have to give up most of your range. I mean, most of your bluffs because you just don't have enough value to bet, right? Here you have every king and every seven, so you could kind of go insane here with value. And it's extremely difficult for him to call. So every king you could like pot bet, over bet. Every seven you could bet half pot, 75%. Like just like there is no way in the world there is gonna be. And like what draws do you even have? Like 10-9, 10-8. That's it. So yeah, you could go insane.
Not sure what I did. I cannot hear you now. Are you talking? Not sure what I did.
Okay. Yeah, pairs will overfold. So A2 suited, yeah, versus fish, I would jam. Especially we saw before that he limped 4 big blinds and then he folded, which is a really good sign that we're gonna be printing with jamming. Yeah, that's Terminator, right? The guy on the top right. So yeah, because we had a note on him where he folded 4 big blinds, it's very safe to assume that he's gonna have a massive overfold. So jamming this hand is good given the note which we have. Okay, 10-2 is fine. Yeah, betting is fine. I usually use randomizer in the spots because, you know, like a lot of the time it's gonna sound like everything is fine because like it's okay to do this, to do this, to do this. Like you need to know roughly the frequencies, like what are the best hands to bet, what are the worst hands to bet, and still you have to mix it up. Like the further you go, like from pre-flop and flop, the less mixing up you do. Like on the river, I almost never use randomizer. I would try to assess the board, I would try to assess the player and try to find the correct decision because there's just enough variables for you to come up with the correct decision. Usually there's just too much information. But pre-flop and on the flop, you have to mix it up because you have to have different types of hands in different ranges. And if you just have some idea in your head and you put too many hands in one bucket, it makes you too predictable to play against, and it makes your strategy very vulnerable. Okay, calling 8-6 is fine. Check 4 with ante. I don't know with ante, so it looks like a call, honestly. But I'm not gonna comment with ante. Okay, raising ace-10 offsuit. This guy, is it a fish? Is it a rag?
Which one?
On the bottom left.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
If they don't have a note, it's that I have no info, not enough info.
Okay. So if it's a fish, I saw raising 2.5x is probably not the best line because basically you're kind of hoping that you would get free bet jammed a lot, and fish do not free bet jam in position often enough. But what fish do, they overcall versus open jam, and so I would either limp raise it, or I would open jam, or at least open raise a larger size in like 3 big blinds, 3.5 big blinds, something like this. I understand that you probably
bigger.
Yeah, you could go even bigger. I'm fine with it. I used not to be fine with it, but like it depends whether you're playing again, because if it's a fish but who kind of know what's going on, then I think he would sniff out what you're doing and it's not good. But if you're playing like against a real whale, like you just see that he's playing slots basically, then yeah, you could just open raise, open jam, or open raise 7 big blinds, something like this. But raising 2.5s, you're kind of hoping that you would get 3 bet jammed, ace-2s, ace-3, ace-4 with 3 bet jam sometimes into you, which versus typical fish like almost never happens. So but they would call all in much wider than they should, like much wider. So I think I would prefer going all in, and I think GTO sometimes goes all in with your hand, like VEV is very, very close.
Yes.
So I would...
What's the worst ace that you would go all in with? Ace 10, ace 9?
Yes, I would never go ace 8 because with ace 8 you actually, or like ace 9 is close, because with ace 8, because he doesn't free bet jam you that often, it means his free bet jam is going to be really strong. They don't even free bet jam pocket deuces, pocket threes sometimes. I mean, most of the time actually. So his free bet jam is really strong, and I feel good about raise folding ace 8 or ace 9, you know, because I feel like I got away from it. But raise folding ace 10, I think it's too much, you know, like, because if you just open jam, there are enough worse hands which are calling you. And raise calling ace 10, I think it's the worst, because I'm pretty sure you're not feeling very good. You kind of have to call, but it's not a good spot. Against some fish, you could even fold, yeah? And you don't want to be put in this situation, you know, where you're raising you're raising non-all-in to induce a free bet bluff, and then you face a free bet. It should be a snap call, and you're like, if you're not happy about the spot, you shouldn't be in here to begin with. Okay. So he click raises, and then he bets again. I would always call here. Okay. Like click raise and bet half, like the bad boards are the boards which fish overbluff the most. I think Rex overbluff the most as well, but facing a small block, like if I had no info, I would call him down here, because it just makes very little sense for me. And fish are actually like the spots which play bluff enough are going to be paired boards, because he reps here very few hands. He might play king sometimes, but on a lot of rewards he would not even jam it. I have ace high with the kicker. He could play an ace high like this. I mean, like, it's just too many bluffs here, and you have 3-1. I think you have to call here. I mean, folding is not the worst, but it feels very bluffy to me. I would call, and call most rivers, I think, because he reps me
Call the jam in river
more often than not. Yeah. As you can see, I come a long way from being in it. But basically, whenever a fish gives you good pot odds and he's representing very thin, it's a good spot to call, usually.
Okay.
The exceptions are when he's raising the river. Like if you go for a big bet on the river and he's raising in position, that's not a good spot to call. Where he's trying to, like, if he check calls, donks, check calls the turn and then he donks, or where he raises small and barrels on a very dry board where he's representing very few hands, you should be calling down. Like again, I would not be surprised to see. Sometimes you see something silly, like he could show you king twos.
Yes. Even they're very weird here because they are the whale kind, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes they're gonna be like king deuce. He would show you with king deuce, or even sevens or 9-7. Yes, shit like this, and you're like, what the fuck? So yeah, this could happen. But with two fish is interesting. Yeah, with two fish playing deep stacks with two fish. I mean, I just feel like, honestly, I'm looking at this spot. And after all the studying, I feel like I'm excited about this. Like I'm calling and I'm feeling good. You know, I'm like, yeah, like I'm gonna see the bluff here so goddamn often, because against 2.5x he's not gonna have that many fours. You know, like he has some fours, but most of the, like he's folding queen 4, jack 4, 10 4, 8 4, 9 4, 7 4, most 6 4. 4-3, like I know how they defend against 2.5x, you know, so he had like 5-3, he has ace 4, he has some king x, but he has suited 4x, but he has very few 4s. You know, if it were like king 7, 7, 9, then I would fold the turn, because he has a lot more 7s than he has 4s, you know, like he's just representing very few trips. And he doesn't know, like on king 7, 7, 9 and king 4, 4, 9, he would have the same bluffing frequencies, because for him these boards are identical. But for me, I know that he doesn't have very many fours and he's kind of representing one. So if he's repping me the trips, which most of it falls pre-flop, like I feel excited about this, you know. For Rex, it's different, because Rex understand where they represent very thin, and they, don't like to bluff where they rep extremely thin. But fish have no idea that they rep very thin, right? They kind of, I want to bluff here, and very often on the flop, they know that they're going to bluff here.
Okay, yeah, makes sense, yeah.
Okay.
I understand that about the fish. The problem is that I see myself with ace high here and a fish that has played click flop, and I don't know.
But he's repping again, super thin, like super thin, and you're getting 3-1. Again, like so, king 7-7, I would fold because like he has enough trips here. But king 4-4, king 3-3, king 2-2, king 2-2, like that's these are the boards which I would not, like. It feels to me that I should call. Okay. Okay. So you folded Jack 4 when it was 4 big blinds, but you called 9-6. Then it was 3.6. I'm not familiar with charts, but that seems weird.
I thought about that exact same thing. I knew you would bring that up.
Yeah.
I think folding Jack 4 was a mistake because I was doubting the entire time whether he was a reg or not. And I was like, do I have to fold this or not? Is he a fish? Is it still a call against a fish or not? And then I was like, nah, it's too neat. So next hand I will call. But then the next hand was worse, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, Jack 4 was a call. Like, I mean, it has to be an extremely neaty fish, like really neaty fish to make it a fold. Like, really. And keep in mind, you also have ante. So with ante, like, I don't think it's even close.
I don't think there's ante here in casino in 20s. There's no ante for sure in 50s. So.
I think okay. There's no ante. Okay. I see this layout in iPoker, and I automatically think that there should be ante involved
because they all have ante except Spain and France.
Okay, so I'm okay with betting, because like my logic here would be. So, like, he limp pre-flop. So the problem here with betting big is that he's not gonna have many 6s and 5s because he limped from the button, and of course, like, fish could limp from the button a very wide variety of hands. Unfortunately, we do not have heart to see it, but even if we did have heart, we would not have enough hands to guess. But on average, the FPIP is around 45-50% on average what they've peep. So even though 50% is a lot on the button, still most 6s and 5s he would not play, right? So like, I just don't see, like, you're playing this spot as if it were heads up limp pot, where he's gonna have 10-6, 5-4, 6-3, 6-4, hands like this. He's not gonna have them probably, because he folds on pre-flop on the button more often than not. So, if I'm going to bet, I would bet half pot here, something like this. You know, to make him call me with ace king, like if he has some ace x, king x, which he was trapping, or to make him call every gut shot. Because if he has a 9, he has a better 9 than me. If he has a 5 or a 6, I just don't see a lot of 5s or 6s in his range. A lot of them he bets the flop, because fish really like to fast play. And yeah, so and even if he does have it, I don't see getting 2 streets of value. Like, you want to bet, make the pot bigger when your hand either needs a lot of protection, or when you're preparing to jam most rivers, or like bet big most rivers. Like, obviously you're not jamming here. And here, I mean, like, I would probably go half pot, because again, you counting like he has a lot of 5s and 6s, and he doesn't have that many. Unless he's like a very loose aggro fish, then yeah, you could even bet pot at some point, like if he's like super.
We don't know yet, so I assumed he was an average fish, and that's it.
Okay, so solver here really would like you to go for a block. From my experience, checking here works a lot better. Because like I said, I don't think he's got many 5s and 6s, and fish love turning like king high, queen high into a bluff. And there's like, I see a lot of misdraws. I think that it's easier for you to induce a bluff than to get this like one big blind from 6s or 5s, and I don't see that many 6s and 5s in the first place. So I think we make more money by getting a big bluff out of him than by building a block betting range. Like usually checking here works a lot better because they would they would bluff the hands which they're not supposed to bluff. Like he could easily bluff here king 7 against you check, or like queen 10, something like this. So I would go for a check. You probably went for a block, I think.
I think I went for a block, yes.
Yes,
I'm pretty
yes,
sure I did.
yes. But you did it because you saw it in GTO, because GTO goes for a block very often. Yeah, I don't think that's the spot where you want to go for a block, because fish would... you don't want, like, if you go for a block and he raises... Again, if it's hyper aggro fish, who's like a station, and like you go for a block, he raises, and you're like, good, finally, call. I was waiting for this. Like, if you're excited about the situation, then sure. But I just think he's gonna go for a big bet with his bluffs, and I think and against a block, very often he would fold, or he could call you with king high, but I think you make more money by inducing big bluffs from him than by pot controlling, because the reason behind block is I think you probably watched some of the lectures where I explained the logic behind blocks. I don't know how many lectures you watched, but like the reason behind block is very complicated. But the main reason why you are block betting out of position, because you are never block betting river in position, you're only block betting river out of position, because your situation is extremely bad when you're out of position. And solver tells you, well, of course, if I go for a block, I'm gonna be losing. But if I check and I face a bet, I'm also losing by calling because I'm pot committed. And because I'm losing by calling anyway, I might go ahead and put myself in a bad spot because my alternative is even worse. Right? That's the logic of a block bet, essentially. You're trying to pot control, like I'm going to bet smaller. If I check, he's gonna value bet a bigger sizing, so I'm trying to freeze the action. I'm trying to get value. Like there's this idea, but this is fish. Like that's not a good idea. Like against most fish, I would always check.
If I had so much trouble like painting his range here because he could have anything limping in button. I was not sure what he had. And I think my idea was to get calls from something worse, like, I don't know, like a king 6 or like a queen 6 or something like that.
Yeah, but like I said, there are not that many limping pre-flop.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. And that's, you see, the problem of betting large on the turn is that you're gonna run into a lot of large nines with a higher kicker, and he hardly has any nines with a worse kicker because he's not limping 9-4, right, on the button. So you know, and getting to free throw value from 5 or 6 is very, so there. Check calling. If you check, he probably would have checked back, and you actually save money. So
yes, I agree.
Okay, so going, there is a mixture of, is it a fish, is it a reg, or is it unknown?
Which one?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, for me it's obvious. I'm pointing with my cursor, but you probably don't see it.
I don't see it, no.
Yeah, okay. So it's bottom right.
Bottom right.
You have Jack 8. Jack 8?
I'm not sure what he is.
Okay. With Argentinian flag. Yeah, like you have no idea.
No idea what he is. Terminator, I actually have doubts to this, you know. He's playing like all the time, multiple tables, and I still have him tagged as a fish, but I think he's a reg. It only makes sense that he's a reg.
Okay. So on a king X board with a flush draw, you wanna have a mix of block bet and a big sizing, and it might seem like a very dry board, but with like king jack, ideally you wanna put all the money in on the turn, because there are a lot of runouts because of how deep the stacks are where you would not be able to do it. If the board was king 10 twos without a flash draw, or like then this logic no longer applies and you could go for a block bet only. But here you have like a perfect backdoor hand to bet huge, because if you bet small and you face a raise, you're in a very awkward spot, because you kind of have to call because you have to go to the backdoors, but you're like not happy about it. So this is like a very nice hand to boot into a big bet category, usually. Like, because if you have a gut shot or a flush draw, if you face a raise, it's an easy call. If you have some trasher hand, like 8-7 of hearts, it's a very easy fold. Jack 8 with the Jack of clubs makes sense to bet big, and you have a lot of kings which want to bet big as well. But if you just want to go for a block bet, it's fine. Especially if you are up against a fish, potentially, then obviously going big here makes no sense. So you thinking that it's a fish, probably block betting makes a lot of sense.
Maybe it's wrong, but my logic is when I don't know the player, I assume it's a fish by default until they prove otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, on 20s probably, yeah. On high stakes, you know everybody, so like if you don't know him, it's very likely to be a fish. And on this stakes, probably, but you don't play 20s, so yeah, I understand. Like it's confusing for you. Okay. Okay, so Jack 8, I think, do you have enough bluffs here? I think Jack 8, again, it's reasonable to continue betting here. The only size in which makes sense here is spot bet. If you're, again, playing, even against a fish, I would probably size up. Jack 8, I think, makes sense because do you have enough gut shots or not? Because you have 9-8, 9-7, 8-7, you have 5-4, 5-3 for free, but you don't have that many, only suited ones. Queen Jack, you check call. Ace Queen Ace Jack, you check call. I'm not sure. Like, this is a close one. Maybe pot betting is fine. Like, if the turn was a 5, I would for sure... I would be confident about pot betting, because if the turn is a 5, you don't have 9-8, 9-7, 8-7, so you don't have button gut shots, and you don't have enough draws to bluff, so you need to bluff some no equity hands. If the turn is a 5, a 4, a 3. But if the turn is a 6, now you have a lot of draws, right? You have 9-8, 9-7, 8-7, you have 5-4, 5-3, 4-3. So you have Queen 9, you have Jack 9, so you have flush draws. In order to be balanced on line 8-7, you could use like Ace-4, Ace-3 as a merge bet bluff. I'm not going to explain on the stream what it is because it's just going to take too long. But so like on this turn, especially if it was like a 6 of spades, now you have a 2 flush draws, it would be a mistake for sure to bluff it on a 6 of spades because like there's just way too many draws, right? You have to give up. But the drier the board is, the more you could bluff without equity, basically. Okay.
So I think I'm not sure. I don't think I got that big against fish usually.
Yeah.
Just went for like half.
It's fine. 75% is okay. Like half pot, I would think it's probably a mistake, but half pot, 75% is fine. Yeah. Chicken sixes fails.
I'm not sure. I think I remember studying it with you in the first classes that you taught about fish. I don't remember how elastic the range was when you changed from 75% to pot. And my logic has always been that there's probably not a lot of difference for them. So when I'm bluffing, I prefer bluffing a little bit smaller, like 75 instead of pot. And then when I'm value betting, I do the opposite.
Yeah.
But
I'm
not sure
it's not. It is right in some. It is right in some spots. It isn't in other. So it's very right on some river spots where the range is very polarized to draws and value. There are some spots where if they have something, they never fold. So you could come up with some spots where it makes sense. But from all my studies, fish are very sensible to sizes, like very sensible, same as rec. Like they see the difference between 75% and pot. So the fish who do not see the difference are gonna be the fish, like, again, who play slot machines, basically. Against them, it's true. So, for example, for fish who would make like 5x opens pre-flop and who would go like 10x overbet on the flop, right? So if you see something like this, so they just like go insane, then yeah. And versus fish like this, by the way, so if you saw a fish who goes overbet a lot, so who has like massive overbets, massive open sizes, versus them, even at deeper stacks, you never wanna min raise, basically, even with your good hands, because you don't wanna make the pot bigger, because if he hits something, he kinda doesn't care how much money are in the pot, right? Because he's just gonna bet like 7 into 2 or something like this. So what you're trying is to make him hit, because he doesn't care about the pot like whatsoever. He's not concerned with it. But and versus him, of course, you're trying to bluff cheap, and you're trying to do this stuff. But versus like a fish who's kind of trying to win, who has his idea of how to play, like he has his strategy in his head, he's trying to play smart. They're very sensible to sizes, so I would probably bet pot, but 75% is, I mean, it's not a mistake, so I find. Why are we limping? King 5 suited on the bottom right.
This is actually something that it's a mistake. I should have opened here because it's just an average open, but yesterday I was studying that when we are shorter and you actually do not want to open King 5 suited, you might still limp and generate EV from a spin with 2 fish. And I think I extrapolated that to deeper stakes. So yeah, stakes now are sort of stacks.
Okay.
And doesn't make much sense.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
shorter.
I mean, I never limp the bottom. That's about it. I guess. I mean, it's possible that it's good, but let's crush high stakes first with simple strategies, and then maybe, like, I mean, I just like the spin and goes is a game about volume. So you have to play simple strategies and you have to grind. You have to play a lot to actually show good results. The things which you do not like. But unfortunately, like, it's just memorizing pattern and playing simple strategies. So for example, if you're playing MTT and you're like at the final table, coming up with some very creative strategy maybe is gonna be good. Especially if you're playing deeper stacks, you have like the blind levels are very long, you know, you have a lot of time. Then yeah, like being creative pays off and you're super concentrated. But in spin and goes, if you have time for limping button, you're probably playing too little tables. You need to add more tables so that you don't have to do this.
It was the case, right? I was playing tables and I was playing against 2 fish and I was like, well, let's create some, show for people. But I'm not sure it's wrong. I know it. No. You complicate the strategy.
Yeah.
But I mean, in this spot specifically, I thought it could be something interesting.
It could be. Yeah, I agree. Sure. I agree. Yes, exactly. So I think it's not a good idea strategically. Because you could just beat the field. I mean, and I'm talking about hundreds as well, right? You could beat the field with just a very good strategy. Like if you just have a solid strategy without complicated lines, you're just gonna crush the field. That's good enough for now, at least. And anyway, okay, like you get my point, but maybe it's good. Maybe I never know. Like a lot of the lines, I remember when I reviewed guys from like my students who played like $15, $7, like really low stakes. A lot of the shit they did versus fish, and I would tell them that's horrible. Like never do this. That's bad. And now I'm doing what they're doing, but even at a more extreme level after I have studied fish. So like, because before I would study only GTO for a very long time and, I would have very good fundamentals versus reg, but I would be very terrible versus fish. And after studying fish tendencies for a very long time, I kind of understand it's a lot more. And they would actually, so the guys who played much lower stakes than me would have a much better instinct versus fish. And I didn't have this instinct because I didn't have any good poker instincts in general. So, I learned basically not to trust my instincts, and I got very good by just simplifying the strategy as much as I can and grinding a lot at like memorizing the patterns, memorizing the boards, seeing different little differences between like turn 6, turn 5, king 4-4, king 7-7, like understanding how it all connects. But versus fish, so it could be perfect maybe, because a lot of the lines which I thought were horrible were amazing, in fact, versus fish. So maybe it's the way to go. I don't know.
I'm not sure if it's good or not. I just sometimes when I'm against 2 fish, I like to be creative and see what happens, and this looked like a good opportunity with you and the people watching to
sure, okay. So this guy seems to be a fish. This guy seems to be a fish, given that he jams. Or maybe it's ace king, but if it's ace king offsuit, he should have isolated bigger on the turn. I'm just playing on the fact that maybe it's a reg, but it's very unlikely. I mean, of course, you have to call.
I think I actually folded.
No! No!
Yes, which is a terrible mistake now that I'm looking at it. But I'm pretty sure.
What? This is beyond horrible. This is like I mean,
I fold, yeah.
this is extremely bad. Like I cannot even put it into words how bad it is. Okay, okay. This is insane. He could easily have ace high here. You understand? Or like king jack, like easily,
Yes.
like
Yes.
easily. Yes, any random shit. No.
I'm not sure what to do.
That's very bad. Okay, that was extremely bad. So you said you made
not instant fold, so I'll give that to myself. I was thinking about calling, but
Okay.
yeah, I think he could have anything here, literally from sevens to ace jack. So I think calling is much better on average. I agree with you.
no. I
I'm not
think
going to argue with that.
I honestly think that saying much better is an understatement. Because it's like there's like better, there's much better, and then there's like I think you're making like
this is blunder.
Yeah. I think you're making like 400 big blinds per 100 or something by calling. Because I know what they jam, basically. I've looked at what they jam. Like that's not even close. Okay. That's okay.
My cat wants to be on the table, sorry.
That's okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, probably okay. Yeah.
Still not sure what that guy is. I'm pretty sure he's a really weak reg, but I'm not sure, so I had my doubts.
I mean, his jam on the turn just makes no sense. Because he isolated 3 big blinds, which means he either was bluffing you and bluff. I mean, or like he needs to have a very polarized range, even if he was bluffing. And like, what value do you jam here? Maybe he had a flush draw. Maybe he's a reg, he isolated like Jack 10 suited, and he had a flush draw, and he decided to jam. But even then, why would you jam? Like, you still want to bet small and jam the turn. Even then, it makes no sense. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so we must, like, he clicked 3 bets, so we should mark him as a fish if we have time. This guy, on the top left, the Frankenstein, or whatever this avatar means.
I didn't get it. Not sure.
Okay, it's fine. Okay, block betting is fine. Ace 4 on the king jack jack. So this is where on the top left we're up against a reg, I presume.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so ace 4 is a fine bet, like you have a very shitty hand, but this is not the board which we would see bet like 100% of the time. Yeah, we need to develop a chicken back range here because we want to be checking back a bunch of pocket pairs, like with king X, you know, like there are a lot of hands which would like to pot control. But usually you would like to pot control some hands which have some backdoor potential and which lose equity facing a check raise. So like ace 5 of hearts is a very nice check back. Like maybe 9-8 of hearts, pocket 7s, hands like this. But okay.
Yeah, but I didn't know what to do with ace 4. It's like, I'm not sure I have.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
He's I'm more like I'm folding his equity. Kind of.
Yeah. On the flop, it's not a bluff. It's like just again, like on the flop, it's hard to divide your range for like value and value bets or bluff and value. Like sometimes you just bet because the betting is best, and it's like it's just a range bet, so to speak. Okay, king 3, you call. Or a 3-bet jam.
I'm not sure what to do with king 3 there because he open raised so short, and when I don't know the reg, I really don't know what to expect of his open range here so short. I feel like it's mostly like pockets.
This is a fish, right? On the top right. Yes? Or is it a
The
reg?
top right, I think it's a reg. I'm pretty sure it's a red. It means calling reg. I'm
Okay,
sure.
okay. Then you should free bet jam against the reg. Like,
Yes,
okay.
that's what I usually would do if it was
Yeah.
a little bit deeper.
Okay.
The problem is the shorter we get, I don't know what to do with the range because at some point they stop having an open race range, and I don't know when that is. And some people don't have it below like 9 or 8, and then
Yeah.
they only have like aces, queens, etc.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's GTOs has it at 8 and it stops having it at 7.5. So 8 is the bottom. But like people when they usually tend to min raise to white here and they min raise fall too much. I mean, it depends from player to player, but King 3 is a good free bet jam also because you actually could get it in ahead if he's min raising some suited Broadway, semi-Broadway like this is Jack 10 suited, Queen 10 suited. Of course, if he's hyper polarized, then you want to be calling. But if it's a reg, usually free bet jamming is going to perform better. But you know, there are a lot of the spots where, like for example, here I just know it performs better because I know how weak regs play this board because you know I've worked with so many players that I kind of know their ranges. But there are some spots where you could use logic and we could deduce like, okay, so he doesn't have these hands, he doesn't have these hands, and so on. And some spots where you just know because you've studied these spots and it's just like that's what you should do. And it's difficult to put it into words wide, but basically he has enough bluffs. Versus half pot you fold and he has a pretty well sizing actually. I think here maybe this short SPR is weird. Okay. So A7 suited
which is
usually
also a good reason why free bet jamming is probably a better idea because the SPR is so weird later that I don't know how to play it.
yeah, maybe. Queen Jack suited 12 big blinds. I feel like it's a call. No? 12 big blinds feels like very close to a call versus. Yeah? No?
Yeah, not sure with the fish on the big blind. I'm not sure what to
Okay.
do with that. I don't know how the ranges change, how his button range changes, and also what having a fish behind means because he could call like I don't know, like weird shit like king
Yeah.
or something that is ahead and should be a fold. I'm not sure.
Okay, I do not level myself with this stuff. Like, I mean, it's close, but I think it's a call, but maybe not. But it feels very good. Like, it feels close to a call. Okay, A7 suited. Oh, nice. So, like, again, open jamming is fine because the only reason why you would min raise is you're trying to induce a free bet jam from a works hand like this one. So if he's like
the humiliator.
Yeah. But if you're playing up against a fish, I would never min raise. I would always go all in.
Oh yeah.
Because fish would never free bet jam kid 6. I mean, sometimes we do weird shit, but when they're free bet jamming, it's very value heavy. So, yeah. Okay. Going to the blocks, fine. So he block bets and then he bets half pot. 6-4 is probably a call against this sizing. Again, like facing a block bet. The problem here for you is that you have to fold a lot of hands. Like you have to fold a lot of the gut shots and like. So you're folding every gut, like 9-8, 9-7, 8-7, you're folding Queen Jack, and you have some backdoors, which you're folding as well, and you're folding some sixes. You need to fold here. I'm assuming it's a reg, right? Takedown on the bottom,
Yes.
right?
I think at this point, I thought that he was a reg already, but I have not tagged him yet.
Okay, so because he bets only half pot, and you need to fold only 35% of your range, and you're already folding gut shots, missed backdoors, and Queen Jack, it means you need to call some sixes. So what are the best sixes to call? And the best sixes to call are going to be the ones which do not block any of his bluffs. So the best ones are going to be 6-2, 6-5, 6-4, because you don't block any of his bluffs. His most common bluffs are going to be Queen 9, Jack 9, Queen Jack, hands like this. King 7 suited, King 5 suited, shit like, and 6-4 doesn't block any of them. And also, like for example, if you have Jack 6, and if you had, so you're more dominated and you hit a Jack on the river, it's a lot more likely that your Jack is poisoned because your opponent might have Ace Jack, your opponent might have King Queen, and even if your opponent has an Ace and the river is Jack, you know, he might play it safer. But if you call 6-4 and the river is a 4, river is a 4 is a complete blank. So he would go value, thinner for value when the river is a 4 if you hit 2 pair with a 4, or with a 2s with a 5, when if you hit it with like a Jack or a Queen or a 9. You understand? Okay.
It was a lot of talking, but it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you're playing against a fish, you would never think about it. But if you're playing against a wreck, like not blocking, and because you have to call some 6s, you want to make sure that you call with 6s the best ones, and the best ones here have the lowest kicker. It's counterintuitive because like. But he never value bets a 6 here, so like your kicker doesn't matter. I mean, in terms of strength, you wanna get the kicker, which either unblocks his bluff, or if you hit your second pair, it gets you have like the best EV possible. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just call in with a backdoor flash draw. No, don't free bet. No. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
I know. It's a blunder. I'm not sure what I thought in game. That
Why?
instantly regret. Like 0.1 second regret. I shouldn't have done it. But
it's so bad.
Yeah. This is worse than the other one, actually. Worse than the King 5. And I don't need any protection, and it's the driest board in the world. I just thought he would not be able to have that many bluffs to that size, but I guess I was wrong. And yeah.
But even if he doesn't have any bluffs, let's, for the sake of a discussion, assume that it's true. Yes? You don't lose anything by calling.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Like,
because even if he has 2 pair or something, I still don't want to jam, so it makes no sense.
Yeah, or if he has Queen 10, there are no scary rivers.
No, yeah.
Even if a river is an 8, or an ace, or a king,
no.
there are no rivers he folds.
This is something that I've actually found myself doing when I was less disciplined, when I was like not focused or bored or something for some reason, and it's one of my biggest mistakes that I make, not often but sometimes.
Yeah.
Even though I know it isn't, it's like maybe some like old habit from doing it when I didn't understand the spot, and I still do it for some reason.
Yeah. Probably, but it's so again, as you can see, like the important thing is you don't need to limp the button, but it's better to play more tables, but not to do any blunders. Like as long as you're not like, if you build the strategy around simple lines and you follow the basic guidelines, which help you avoid, making blunders, even if you don't always get the max CV, even if you simplify the strategy, that's gonna, that's gonna make, so your hourly win rate is gonna skyrocket, basically. So that's what you need to focus on. But yeah, okay. It's just like, because
actually, this is something good for people watching, because me that I make these mistakes that are obvious still, and I'm playing high stakes and I'm making quite a bit of money. Like people would be surprised how much money you can make still having like this kind of blunders. So for all you that are playing like mid stakes and all that, there's still hope,
Yes.
You blunder and
but you see, the problem with people who are playing less, they make even more blunders, but they don't remember them. That's the thing. Because they would comment on that, oh, I would never play like this. And then I would put like 40 hands where he would play much worse than this, and he's like, I don't remember this, or like, I don't know what happened, because like when your opponent makes something like this, you immediately think, oh, he's dumb. But when you make something like this, you think, well, I got distracted because I know I would not do this, but I got distracted. Why don't you think that your opponent got distracted? Can't your opponent get distracted as well? you know, but
Everyone makes mistakes.
yeah.
And I make mistakes all the time. And actually, it's funny because I have all the time in the world here. I
Yes,
have
exactly.
on the other tables, and I
Yes.
instant go all in like a monkey, you know, like
Yeah.
boom. And
Yeah.
obviously,
The
so
irony,
funny.
the irony is not lost on you, yeah, because like it's not like you're playing 9 tables. This is 4.
Exactly.
I think you can probably not make this mistake. On com being on AS comes with benefits having weak pulls, or at least that's my assumption. No, you could make these mistakes on com as well.
This, this is a terrible assumption because even though Spain is softer than .com, I've played .com and I've had amazing results as well. It's obviously tougher, but you play 50s. I've coached people in 25s and 50s in PokerStars.com. They are terrible as well. Like every reg that is not playing super high stakes is making huge blunders every hand. And I'm sure Philip agrees with me and has coached so many people in mid and high stakes making blunders like this. It's easy to assume that because you're playing a softer field, then they gift you the money. But if you check in the pool, actually, the results that people are getting, it's not that much better than .com. You can check it right now in Hyperscope, for example, which is open.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. No. Yeah, like I remember then I would make a stream in Russian where I would go over my mistakes. I would mix because we would go over hands, and usually people would just show like the hands where they played very well, and I would try to mix it like one hand where I played very well and one hand that I played very bad. Kind of to show people that, like, you see, like, I make mistakes as well. It's fine to make mistakes. And I got so many comments, like, because they think that on high stakes, you're like a robot. You're playing, like, perfect poker 100% of the time. Yeah, and the truth of the matter is, yes, you're making so many stupid things, and you just have to play better than your opponent. Okay, let's...
And actually, they judge you even, they're harsher with you because you're playing higher stakes and they expect you to play, so much perfect. But
yes,
we get tired as well. We lose focus. We are tilted. I'm not tilted usually, but some people are. So it's, we're humans after all, and we're going to make big mistakes. The importance is how often we make them, and when we make them, how expensive they are. So that's, I think, the most, like, the biggest difference between someone playing 100s and someone playing like 25s. Obviously, there's a lot of technical level, but it's how consistent they are in not making big mistakes. And that's it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, let's wait for one more blunder from you.
I actually show it here. I'm like, punishing myself for doing it here by opening it again.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So it's important that we realize it quickly, like I think I see it and I'm like, oh my, what have I done? Like I'm looking at it 20 times to remember not to do it next time. But I think that's a good thing, actually.
Not when you're playing. Like, if you have 4 tables, you have time to look at it, but like, don't do it when you're 9 tabling. That's for sure.
No.
That's not a good strategy. Sure. Like, yeah. Because again, like, that you made a mistake. It's fine. There is nothing you can do about it. So like, they just keep going. It's interesting again because people, I think, don't talk about how to navigate your mental process, because you always hear that you have to be focused, you have to keep your emotions in check, but very few people actually, at least I didn't hear, like there is Tendler, of course, and there are some courses on how to do it, but a lot of the things which I tried, for example, they would sound very, very weird, the ones which worked for me. Like the thing about Like the thing which helped was where I would say at the beginning of the session that the goal of the session is to make a bunch of bet lines and feel good about it. That's like the point of the session, not to win. There was even one time that I on purpose folded aces. Like I was playing 100s and I just like got tilted, and then I would like calm myself and I would just open fold aces just to show myself that nothing bad happens if I make a mistake. Even if I make the biggest blunders, I would just, like I would play mental games with me. It seems very silly, like it's very dumb, but I had very big mental demons, like much bigger than people I think realize. And yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, I will check it as well. I saw that. Okay. I think I would check it back again, honestly. Like betting is fine. I don't mind it. Yeah, it's okay. I think we have to give up. Ace of clubs blocks too many bluffs of his.
Yeah.
Too many check folds, and you have enough worse bluffs. I don't think you wanna bet an ace of clubs. Yeah.
There's a universe where you win as well. Checking.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah. Okay.
That was the universe. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I see that we've been talking for almost 3 hours. So, like, actually, the time flies when you're having fun. So, we had an interview for 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 1.5 hour of reviewing the content. So, people should be content, I think. Like there's been enough poker.
Tired, probably.
Yeah, probably. Thank you for your time, Dagger. It was
Thank you for having me here.
Yes, I actually didn't know all the details of the story. I hope that you would get better. And
Thank you.
yes, how many hours do you average grind study per month? Do you think is the diminishing returns were not worth the take of spending too many hours due to mental fatigue or playing BC game? I think it depends on what stakes you're playing. So if you're playing high stakes, like if the game is running, because for example for me on Winamax, like there are slots which you have to play, and if the games are running, like I have to play. It doesn't matter like how bad I feel, unless I'm like absolutely fucked. I have to play. But if you play lower stakes and the good games are always running, then yeah, probably you could like taking a break makes sense. But the higher the stakes are, you don't have the luxury of being able to take a break. You have to take all the time you have. Yeah, basically. So, but if you're playing lower stakes, then taking a break is a good thing. Like when I played really, but when I played the game where the games are always running, there was a time when I would take a break, like every 1 hour, I would take a break for 5 minutes and I would meditate. But I think it's ideal because you give your eyes rest, like you could composition yourself, like that's nice if you could do it. But like if you play high stakes, you cannot do it. So. Yeah. Thank you, Dagger, again.
Yeah. Thank you.
See you during the classes. Actually, have you started attending classes? Because I don't think I saw you. Or did I?
No.
No.
Actually, because I was not in my city. Actually, I have not been able to grind or use my computer until a week ago or something. And I will start attending all of them from next class. I promise. I was actually in the beginning when before I left Bali, I was going to every single class. I think you might remember that. And then I stopped. And then coming back has been a struggle for many mental problems with the disease and not having a lot of time while being in the doctors. But now I will. I'm back to grinding. I'm back to studying, and I want to be all out again. So
I see.
You'll see me there for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. I mean, when you have a slot, I mean that if you have if the action is running and you know some regs, right? So that you know that this reg is not playing, and if the action is good, you have to keep playing, right? And if the action is bad, then you could quit. But sometimes you just don't have a choice if the big whale comes in. Okay. Yeah. So, okay, guys. Yeah. Thank you guys for joining in.